Hello everyone, GadgetGirlKylie here, and welcome to my Nintendo Switch first impressions video. So this is going to be me talking about the Nintendo Switch as a home console and also as a handheld gaming device. So first of all, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch as a home console, and the first thing I want to tackle is this, which is the Nintendo Switch dock. So as you can see here, this means that you can use the Nintendo Switch as a home console because you slot it in there, there should be a click, and obviously you connect all the wires up, your HDMI wire and your power cable, and then you can use it on the big screen. So if I just remove the Nintendo Switch, there's a couple of things that I want to say. So first of all, this feels pretty cheap. Although it feels sturdy, it is made of plastic, and to be honest, I feel like it just could have been better made overall. I don't think it'll break easily, but I haven't dropped it or anything like that, and I'm not going to test that. But the first thing I want to talk about after the cheapness of it is these lips inside. I did point these out on the unboxing video. They're on both sides, and basically what that means is when I'm slotting in the Nintendo Switch, like, even with me being extremely careful, it still touches those edges. And there were a lot of reports the day before I got my Nintendo Switch that people were already getting scratches on the screen due to this design flaw. Because honestly, once you put your Nintendo Switch into the dock, if you look at it top down, there is very little wiggle room. So even if you are being careful, you're more than likely still going to be rubbing your Nintendo Switch against the plastic lips of the docking station. Now, what I would advise definitely doing for a start is getting a screen protector, which is actually what I have on my Nintendo Switch. It's probably still going to get scratched over time where the screen protector isn't on the system, probably around the edges near the Joy-Cons, but I don't think there's anything I can do about that, even with me being extremely careful, guys. So that is something to bear in mind. I highly recommend getting a screen protector, not only because of the possibility of getting scratches from the docking station itself. Apparently this screen is also pretty easy to scratch as well, so a lot of my viewers have told me. So normally I don't bother with a screen protector, but on such an expensive piece of kit, I think it's better to be safe than sorry, to be honest. Other than that, the dock design itself isn't too bad because I do actually like this flap at the back, which keeps all of the wires behind nicely tucked away and neat. So we have an AC adapter socket, we also have a USB and a HDMI out, and all of the wires just run through here and go through this little gap and then obviously connect up to your TV and your power source. Weight-wise, it isn't too bad either, so even if you wanted to take the whole system with you, as long as you've got a decent sized bag, it's not going to be too weighty in my opinion. It's still quite portable as a home console as well. So let's talk about the Joy-Cons. So I've mainly used the Joy-Cons as individual controllers when playing fast RMX and snipper clips with my boyfriend, and overall they're pretty nice actually. I've got quite small hands, so that probably benefits me when holding these. I know some people have complained and said they're uncomfortable to hold, but in all honesty for me they do feel nice in the hand. They aren't real plasticky feeling. I don't know if this is a type of silicone around this Joy-Con or not, but it doesn't feel like dead hard, but it also doesn't feel soft. this is going to just sound rude no matter how I say it. It feels semi-soft, semi-hard. I don't know how to explain that. But it's nice to hold and it doesn't make the hands sweat either. And overall I've had a good time with the Joy-Cons playing on snipper clips and Fast RMX, which is a racing game. Although I would still say that I would prefer to slot them inside this and use it as a controller, which I will get to a little bit more later on. And the buttons themselves have a nice click to them, they feel responsive, the analogs feel nice and they also click in as well. And yeah, I like that all the buttons have a nice clickiness because as a gamer I feel like that's important. I don't know why, okay, it's just nice to feel that click. It lets you know that you have pressed it and it should be responding, or at least that's how my mind works with that anyway. But yeah, the Joy-Cons themselves are pretty good. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be saying, have you had issues with disconnecting? I haven't had any issues with my Joy-Cons, so fingers crossed I don't get any. I think most people have an issue with the left Joy-Con. In particular, that seems to be the one that loses signal in other reports that I've seen. But for me, I've not had any problems with the Joy-Cons, guys, and they do feel comfy. They feel responsive and the buttons have a real nice click. So you can actually have your Joy-Cons connected to the black controller, which is provided in the box when you get your Nintendo Switch. And I've actually used this the most when playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I find this really comfy to use, guys, I'm not going to lie. A lot of people say they prefer the Pro Controller, but I don't have a Pro Controller, so I can't talk about that. I didn't want to get one because they are expensive, and I just thought that I would give this method a go first. And to be honest, I'm glad that I did because it feels really nice to me. I was a little bit worried because the black part is pretty plasticky. I thought, oh, my hands are going to get sore, they're going to sweat and stuff like that. But overall, I've had a pleasant experience when using the Joy-Cons connected to this so that it forms a controller. They feel nice and yeah, I'm pretty happy with it overall. And again, I've not had any problems with disconnecting either. And I played The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for at least 6 hours using the Joy-Cons in this way, and I did not have any problems, guys. So I would say so far in console mode I've had at least 24 hours of playtime out of my Nintendo Switch, and I did get one crash, guys, where the Nintendo Switch froze and I had to hold the power button for, I think it was like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, something like that. Luckily it was on Zelda Breath of the Wild, which automatically saves at regular points throughout play, so I didn't lose any real progress. But I don't know whether to be worried about that, considering I've had a crash so soon after getting the Nintendo Switch. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. And also if you guys have had any similar examples where the Nintendo Switch has froze on you as well, I'd be interested to see what game it froze on, whether it's only happening on Zelda Breath of the Wild or if it's also happening on Snipper Clips and Fast RMX. Now remember, the games that I have on the Nintendo Switch right now are Snipper Clips, Fast RMX, and also The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now Snipper Clips seems to run the same on handheld and also docked. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild actually runs better on handheld, and now that I've had at least about 7 hours playing it on handheld, I would say that I prefer to play it on handheld rather than docked, because honestly, like, the frame rate drops aren't too bad when docked, but they are noticeable, and to be honest, it's just a smoother, more enjoyable experience when playing in handheld mode, in my opinion. Digital Foundry did a tech analysis review of performance and frame rate, which I will link down below in the video description. It shows the performance in docked mode and also handheld mode as well, so you can go and check that out if you're more interested in that kind of thing. I don't know whether Nintendo are going to do a patch and update that, But to be honest, really, when you're playing the Nintendo Switch games in docked mode, there should be a performance boost in my opinion, so that is a little bit disappointing. Although that said, I probably will just continue playing Zelda in handheld mode. So let's move on to playing it as a handheld gaming device now. So this is how I play it. You can actually remove the Joy-Cons if you want, and then there is the little kickstand at the back there, so you could kind of prop it up and then use the Joy-Cons, or alternatively you could connect the Joy-Cons again to the controller and play that way. But for me, I was just playing in bed, so I would slot in the Joy-Cons and I would sit back and relax and play some Zelda Breath of the Wild. And honestly, it's really comfy to hold, guys. I was playing it for at least 7 hours yesterday, like mid-afternoon to evening, and honestly, I didn't get any sore wrists, I didn't get any aches in my hands. Once again, there was no like sweating issues or anything like that. I know it's gross to talk about, but I do think it's valid to point that out. You know, I have had issues with the 3DS in particular where it could cause me to get sweaty hands, so I do think it's important to mention that. But yeah, it's comfy to hold and it doesn't feel really heavy. The sound volume is good and the speaker quality is good, and again, the Joy-Cons are just as responsive and have that nice clickiness in handheld mode. Something I do want to mention, guys, is I only noticed this the once. So bear in mind, I was playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for around 7 hours. I did end up having to plug in my Switch while playing to charge it because I got the low battery warning. And then when I decided to have like a 5-minute break and go and get a drink, I pressed the home button, which is there, and it went to the home screen. And that's when I really noticed how loud the fans were on the Switch. Now, that's the only time I've noticed it, and I do think it was because I'd been playing for so long and the system needed to cool down. Now, there was so much air blowing out of the fans along here on the top, and it was pretty darn loud. I actually had to turn down the volume of the Switch because I thought, what's that buzzing noise? Like, it was concerning me. I didn't know what was going on. And then that's when I realised it was actually the fans. It only lasted for around 10 seconds and then it was gone, and it's not happened since. So, to be fair, I think you can forgive that, really. I just think it was the system trying to cool down because that was a long gaming session and I was also charging the device at the same time. So it probably just got a bit hot and it just needed to cool itself down. Or it could also be that it's like purging itself and blowing out dust from inside the device. Another handy thing that I want to point out is when you're attaching the Joy-Cons to the Switch itself, if they're not connected properly, it will tell you on screen as well, and it'll indicate to you which one isn't connected. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think that's pretty useful, and I'm glad they included that. When they are connected, it does give you that clicking noise, so it does tell you when everything is good to go. I didn't really notice how many hours of play that I got out of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in handheld mode when it wasn't charging, because I was so engrossed in the game and the gameplay that I didn't tally that up. But it felt like a really good amount, to be honest, and when the wire is plugged in at the bottom of the Nintendo Switch to charge, it is out of the way as well, so you can just play it while charging also. That's not a real problem, and I didn't find that if I knocked it, it would come out or anything like that, so that's another good thing. So because of how light the Nintendo Switch is when playing as a handheld, honestly, it's really easy to take in your bag, you know, make sure you've got a hard case for protection, and honestly that will just slip in a backpack or, you know, a laptop bag or something like that, and it's also protected. You could actually carry it around in your pocket if you want, although you're most likely going to need to remove the Joy-Cons to do that and then just slip it in. Just slip it in that way in one pocket and then the Joy-Cons in the other, although I really don't recommend doing that this is an expensive device, and I just recommend, to be honest, picking up a hard case for protection and carrying it around that way. I don't feel like this is a very good device to carry around in your pocket. To me, it is a little bit too large for that, in all honesty, so I just think it's better to just have a carry case for it, or at least a hard case anyway. Speaking of cases, I just want to show you guys this one. So this is actually an old iPad case. It's not mine, it was given to me by my sister. It happened to be waiting for me on the day that I got my Switch, so it's like perfect timing. But yeah, I used this to take the whole thing to my boyfriend's house. So I was able to put in the dock, the HDMI cable, the power plug, and then the Nintendo Switch with the Joy-Cons attached in the hard case that I got from Game, and then also I was able to fit the black controller in as well. So all of it fit inside this. So again, this is an old iPad case. So if you do have a laptop bag lying around, you could actually just use that. And to be honest, I feel like even as a home console, the entire thing is pretty portable, because with everything in this bag, it actually wasn't that heavy. So overall, I really like the versatility of the Nintendo Switch, the ability to play your games in different ways, play it as a home console, you can play it just with the Joy-Cons, you can attach the Joy-Cons to the black controller, you can use a Pro controller, or you can take the Switch on the go with you and have the Joy-Cons attached this way, or you can disconnect the Joy-Cons and use the kickstand and play with the Joy-Cons separate, or again, you can attach the Joy-Cons to this. So there's loads of different options, and of course there's the ability to take this round to a friend's house or some kind of coffee shop or gaming event, and then you can just play with your friends. They can take a Joy-Con and join in on Fast RMX, or, you know, join in on snipper clips and stuff like that. So I do feel like it's a really great device. However, I think you're going to get your money's worth out of the Nintendo Switch if you're using it as both a home console and a handheld device, because if you're just using it as one, for example, a handheld, it is pretty expensive as handhelds go. And then of course if you're using it as a home console, then it's pretty expensive and underpowered as a home console goes compared to a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One S. So I feel like the Nintendo Switch is going to benefit people the most if you're using it as both, really. And of course it also depends on what games are due out in the future. Obviously there's going to be Nintendo first party games, and they do seem to have a lot of support, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that remains and we don't get screwed over like we did with the Nintendo Wii U. But as I said in my Nintendo Switch versus PS Vita video, I feel like this is really promising. I feel like it certainly has the hardware, it certainly has the specs, the versatility is excellent, and I think games like Monster Hunter, for example, would thrive on this. I mean, this just screams for Monster Hunter. It needs Monster Hunter. Splatoon 2 is going to be really good on it. I'm looking forward to joining in on the open beta later this month, so that's going to be fun. And yeah, hopefully I can do a first impressions on that as well, guys. But at the moment, I would definitely recommend all the games that I've got for the Nintendo Switch. So that's Fast RMX, Snipper Clips, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I will put links down below in the video description to a video of Fast RMX and Snipper Clips, so you can see those games in action. I definitely really recommend Snipper Clips, guys. If you're getting a Nintendo Switch, or if you have a Nintendo Switch already and you haven't picked up Snipper Clips, it is definitely a sleeper hit for the Switch, guys. It's a really fun game and I'm just having a great time with it. Now I want to talk about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, to be honest, guys. This is coming from someone who didn't play very many Zelda games growing up. I'm not some huge fan of Zelda. In fact, the last game I played was, I think it was something Seasons on Game Boy Color. I always forget what it's called, but that was the last proper one I played, so that's quite some time ago. and obviously I decided to get The Legend of Zelda for the Switch because it is the big release game, and I've totally fallen in love with it. It's an amazing game. I love how it just kind of throws you in. It gives you some guidance, but mostly it just leaves you to your own devices. You see a point on the map and you can just think, how do I get there? I'm gonna go get there. You can tame horses, there's all types of weapons, armor, different cool characters to meet and stuff like that. The world is just really nice as well, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I do think The Legend of Zelda is definitely a must-have for the Nintendo Switch, and certainly snipper clips as well. Fast RMX is pretty fun, although I wouldn't say it's a must-have. It runs really nice. It actually runs at 720p 60 frames a second on handheld mode, and it runs at 60 in docked mode as well. Although I will say performance-wise it seems to be better on docked mode rather than handheld mode, or at least I noticed more frame issues on handheld mode. But don't quote me on that. That's just from my experience anyway. But it is a fun game. It's kind of like, it reminds me of F-Zero or Wipeout. So if you do want to check out some footage of that, I have got a link down below in the video description to that game as well. Do I think the Nintendo Switch is worth getting now? Well, that's probably something only you guys can answer. You need to think about what games interest you. Realistically, most people will get the Nintendo Switch around launch window for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal game. It definitely demonstrates the graphical capabilities of the Nintendo Switch and how smooth Nintendo Switch games can run. Overall, that is probably my favourite game on the Nintendo Switch right now. I'm just really excited for the future of this system. I hope that more awesome games continue to come out. I do not regret getting the Nintendo Switch. I do want to support this. It's really great as a handheld and, you know, not so much as a home console at the moment, at least in my opinion. But the ability to play The Legend of Zelda on the go is really, really cool. This is made for games like Splatoon 2, Smash Bros, and, you know, things like Stardew Valley is also coming out for it, which I'm now waiting for. I was going to get Stardew Valley on the PS4, but I think it's going to be amazing on the Nintendo Switch, taking my farm on the go. I'm going to get addicted to it, just like Harvest Moon. But anyway, I would love to see Monster Hunter on it and stuff like that, and I'm just super excited for the future of the Switch, guys. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Nintendo Switch down below in the comments section. Have you picked up a Switch? What do you think of it as a home console? What do you think of it as a handheld? What are you mostly using it for? Let me know your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, and of course I really look forward to getting back to you and reading your comments, guys. So will you be picking up a Nintendo Switch now that you've seen this video? Hopefully some of the things that I've talked about have helped you out and given you a bit of insight about the Nintendo Switch as a whole, and also as a standalone home console and a standalone handheld gaming device. But anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this first impressions video. Thank you so much for watching, take it easy, and I shall see you next time.